There's a good chance that shirt you bought at the Gap was sewn by a Guatemalan teenager who was paid $3 a day. In the last few years, hundreds of maquiladoras, or factories contracted by corporations to perform the final assembly and packaging of products for export, have opened in Guatemala. About 70,000 workers, mostly women, work in 500 plants making shirts, dresses, shorts, and pants for sale in the U.S. They are sold in stores including JCPenney, Sears, The Gap, and Walmart. Brand names include Phillips Van Heusen, Levi's, and Liz Claiborne. The development of the maquila arrived late in Guatemala due to a long and violent civil war that was waged from about 1960 to 1996. Potential maquila investors were scared away by the political insecurity caused by the guerrilla insurgency and the military's ruthless counterinsurgency war. A lasting impact of the Civil War has been the large displacement of people, many of whom have flocked to the shanty towns around Guatemala City in search of work and refuge. In the 1980s, the conditions for maquila investment in Guatemala improved, and with help from the U.S. aid program, the Non-Traditional Exporters Association began promoting and assisting companies to export products such as clothing. Within a few years, the Guatemalan government passed several laws that guaranteed low custom duties and a 10-year tax holiday for maquila entrepreneurs. Under the Caribbean Base Initiative, import tax would only be charged on the value added to products assembled from U.S. materials, and quotas were liberalized, meaning that companies were allowed to ship more goods into the U.S. Seeking this market access and fleeing strong labor movement and rising labor costs in their own countries, many East Asian investors set up shop. The value of Guatemalan apparel imports in the U.S. rose from $6.4 million in 1983 to $349.6 million in 1991. Clothing is now the country's third most valuable export. The maquila has been the birth of a new working class in Guatemala, comprised of tens of thousands of workers, many of whom have left their landless poverty in the countryside to seek work in the city. Thousands of maquila workers depend on their meager wages to support themselves and their families, but the increased growth of maquilas does not greatly benefit the economy. Assembling imported materials into low-value goods actually contributes very little to Guatemala's economy. Maquila owners take advantage of the low cost of labor within their country, as well as the incentives offered by the Guatemalan government and international trade rules to cheaply and conveniently access giant U.S. apparel market. This has set the stage for appalling working conditions and the unfair treatment of women workers. Approximately 80% of maquila workers are women. Tedious and repetitive work, unventilated workrooms, unsafe workshops, verbal abuse, sexual harassment, firings for pregnancy, and forced overtime are just some of the issues workers face in maquilas today. Efforts to unionize and improve working conditions have been met with countless threats of violence, intimidation, bribes, relocation of factories, and even attempted murder. In June 1998, union workers at a Camisas Modernas factory, owned by Phillips Van Heusen, won legal and international recognition of Stecamosa, a workers' union, and forced the company into a collective bargaining agreement that brought many improvements, such as an on-site doctor and a cleaner cafeteria. Phillips Van Heusen is a leading U.S. shirt manufacturer that owns Bass stores as well as Jeffrey Bean and Izod labels. This was the first union contract on the industry. 1 year after the victory, Phillips Van Heusen shut down the factory and shifted production to 5 different non-union plants in the area. Today, transnational corporations are contracting more and more maquilas in poor countries with measly wages.